Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So here I have another 10 pens currently inked this week. I think let's go through these briefly one by one. We'll go through them in a little bit more detail and then we'll do a writing sample. So from left to right we have a Visconti Millionaire, and this is in the green. We have a Visconti Millionaire in the honey. We have a Visconti Brunelleschi, a Visconti Medici. We have a Visconti Chatterley Luxuries, and this is the southwest. We have a Visconti Homo Sapiens Lava, and this is the Mazzi edition. We have a Visconti, and this is the Istos Arachnis. A Visconti Belgica. We have a Visconti Homo Sapiens Blue Lagoon, and a Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog. So I think let's go through these in a little bit more detail. So this is a pen made out of solid marble. And not many companies, pen manufacturers, make pens out of marble. Visconti is one of them, for sure. I think that maybe Montegrappa have made some out of marble, possibly. But Visconti is the main one. So this is made out of marble or granite. And this is a heavy pen. And you can see there it's a lovely green marble, which strangely enough matches my kitchen countertop. So if I put this pen on my kitchen countertop, it kind of vanishes, quite literally. This has one of the older style 23 carat Palladium medium nibs, and I love how this writes. Now, this is an older style push-pull piston. So you pull it and push it to fill. This I will ink back up again very shortly. It's currently empty because I did just clean out the previous ink that was in there. So this one, it is a heavy pen. It is made of marble, so the cap is quite heavy. You can post the cap, but it's very back weighted because there's a lot of marble in that cap. But I do like this pen a lot, and I bought this one quite a few years ago, and I love writing with it, but it doesn't hold a large amount of ink. It holds around about 0.6, I would say 0.5, 0.6 milliliters. It's slightly less, I would say, than a international converter or long cartridge. So, but I have that one inked up this week. I have its sibling as well, and this is the Visconti Millionaire, and this is in the Empire Honey. And this is a lovely, again, marble made pen, and you can see that marble there, how beautiful that marble is. And this does have some veins in that marble that you can see there. So this is in the honey, and this one, it's got gold trims. And it's a two-tone nib. Again, it's a Visconti 23 carat Palladium medium nib. I do find though that this nib writes a little bit more on the fine side. The tines are quite tight on this one. Again, it's a push-pull piston converter. But I do like this pen, and I do keep saying that to myself that I will probably floss those tines to make them write a lot more wetter. I think I did on one occasion, but it didn't make a lot of difference, and I do need to do that a lot more. So I probably will do at some point in the near future. The next pen is this one, and this is the Visconti Brunelleschi, which started out as a fountain pen network exclusive, and I can't remember exactly how many there were, but that sold out fairly quickly. And then Dante, when he was at Visconti, decided that he would then make a regular edition pen, and this is the regular edition pen. So this has a 23 carat Palladium nib. Now I have got a little bit of staining around here, and this is what you do sometimes find on certain materials. This is, I used to ink this up with Raw and Klinger Alt Bordeaux, which is more of a darker Bordeaux colour, and that's where I've got a little bit of staining around where the ink would pool at the end of that when it butts up in the cap to the seal. But I like how this pen writes, and I decided I would ink that one up today again. Probably I should have started off using a a reddish brown ink instead of a dark red crimson coloured ink. But it is what it is, and I would much prefer using my pens and not using them. The next pen that is inked up this week is this one, and it's a really beautiful Visconti Medici. And this does actually have this beautiful wood grain effect on it. And I do like this pen. I actually bought two at the same time, and I didn't use both a lot. And then in the end, I sold one to a friend, Gary, and I believe he still has it. This one I kept because it's got this lovely wood grain effect going on, like an arco effect. And I do like that a lot. I did swap the nib out on this because I did originally get it with a medium 23 carat Palladium nib. And this one I've got a double broad nib there, two-tone nib. But that is a really nice writing pen. So I have that one inked up with me this week as well. Writing with that one. The next pen is again another Visconti. Actually, these are all Viscontis. This is a Visconti. It's a Chatterley Luxuries exclusive, and this is what was called the Southwest. And there are only 28 of these pens made in the rose gold trim, and there were 28 made in a ruthenium trim. And so I only picked up the rose gold trim, but this is in the same. It's a celluloid material. It's a material that was used in the Visconti Speakeasy and also in the Visconti St. Basil. It's a beautiful red, blue, black sort of striped hue going on there in that celluloid. The Brunelleschi, the Medici, and the Southwest are all power vac fillers. They are single reservoir, not double reservoir. This one I got with one of the newer style 18 karat gold medium nibs from Visconti. Like these two, it also has the hook safe lock mechanism as well. I absolutely love how this one writes. So I have that one inked up with me this week as well. It's a beautiful pen, and I'm so glad I was able to buy that one from Brian at Chatterley Luxuries. I think they are all sold out now, or last time I looked, well, they were very close to selling out. So I'm glad that I managed to pick that one up when I did. I picked that up in, I want to say, towards the end of 2020, and I really do love that. That's a pen that I write with a lot. And I have this one, and this is a Visconti. It's the Bronze Age, Homo sapiens Bronze Age Lava Edition. But this is a Marzi, and the reason why it's called Marzi is because it was painted by Marzi. And he is in Italy, and he's an airbrush Zippo artist. And he painted a number of pens for Visconti. He's done a few for Penida since, now that Dante Del Vecchio had moved to Penida. And this one is a mural of Mount Etna, which is where the lava on this pen comes from. It's a basaltic lava ground in to dust with resin. And so this is actually Mount Etna erupting. And this is a beautiful mural. This did come with a fine nib, and I didn't like the fine nib, and I swapped it out. I put a 1.3mm stub nib. It's a 23 carat Palladium nib on there. And I find that writes a little bit better. It's still not to my absolute liking. It's quite a stiff nib. And you do, or always did have, some kind of variation between the 23 carat Palladium nibs. Some were really bouncy, flexy. Some were very rigid. This is more one of the rigid ones. But it is a stub nib. So to be honest, I kind of expected that from a stub nib anyway. The next pen I have inked up this week is this one, and it's the Visconti Istos Arachnis. And if you don't know what Istos Arachnis is, it's a spider. And yes, I am not one for spiders. I don't like spiders. And why would I buy this pen? Well, I like the look of it. I like the spider's web. I like the whiteness on this web. and maybe not so much a spider on it, but this is a pen that I did buy from Chris at Truffet many years ago, and I like it. The ink window has stained a little bit because I did use. I can't remember the exact ink. I think it might have been. It was an Akamon Dutch Masters ink. It was either Vermeer's Cobalt Bleu. I think it might have actually been maybe Cerulean Blue Van Vermeer, because that is a more darker blue, I think. So that has stain, but that doesn't bother me. And you can see a little bit on the feed there. It's a little bit more bluer than black. It's a 23 cat Palladium medium nib, but once that's inked up, you don't see it because you'll just see a dark colour in there. So for me, that's not an issue. I can post the cap if I want to, but it's back weighted, so I don't. It's a power vac. It's a double reservoir. This one doesn't have hook safe lock, but it's a pen that I do like. I don't ink up a lot now, and I probably should ink it up a lot. I was going through my pens for this week, and I decided, you know what, let's ink up that pen again, because I've not inked it up for a while, and let's write with it again. And I think that's important when we have a lot of pens. I've got over 200 pens in my collection. I think the danger is that you keep gravitating towards your newer pens, and that's fine if that's what you want. But then you just keep buying newer pens, and then eventually those newer pens that you had been writing with then become your older pens, and then you don't write with them again. So I think it is important to rotate your pens, start picking up some of the older pens that you haven't written with for a long period of time, and start writing with them again. Because I think at that point, a number of things happen. One, you start to realise how nice that pen is or how good it writes, and then you'll start writing with it more. And also, you may not then need to actually buy another pen. Although, I guess we do still want to buy pens, but yeah, that can happen. The next pen I have inked up this week is the Visconti Belgica, and this was to really. It's a beautiful pen, and it was really to show the Belgium coming of age, and so you do have a sort of lion's crown there. This is a pen 175/25. That's basically the designation for Belgium. And this is 175V, and it's number 29. So there's 175 pens, and it's 29. This again's got some blue ink staining on the ink window, but it doesn't bother me. Again, I think I used the same ink in here. This is a 23 cat Palladium nib. It's a broad nib, and I really do love how this one writes. So I will have that one inked up this week as well, but I just wanted to show you that before I re-ink it with a different blue ink. The next pen, I do have this inked up, is the Visconti Homo Sapiens Blue Lagoon. So all of that black area is really the ink, and you might be able to see that sloshing around there just a little bit. It's very, very full. There is an air bubble here, and you might be able to see that air bubble moving around. This is a Homo Sapiens, so it's a power vac filler. It's a double reservoir, although you can't see the double reservoir because you've got this around it. It's got a hook safe lock. It's got a newer 18 karat gold. It's a medium nib, single tone nib, but I like it a lot. It did come writing very fine and very dry, and I have sort of opened the tines up a little bit on this one to make it write a little bit wetter. I don't really have to do that a lot. You can see a lot of the chatoyance here on this pen. It really is a spectacular colour. I know some of you have actually said that you've actually had one of these pens arrive and it's been more blue than this green. Mine's more of a, like, this is a bluey, turquoisey sort of colour, and this goes to a green colour, like an aqua lagoon colour. You obviously, each pen is different, so you are going to get different swirl patterns, different colours, but I do like this one that I got here. It's a really nice colour set. So very glad that I managed to get that one where it's got some blue and green in it and not just blue or not just green. And then the last one I have inked up, this is inked up, so it's a little bit more difficult to see the celluloid ribbon patterns. But this is a Visconti Hammer Sapiens London Fog. And just like the Blue Lagoon, it is a Homo sapiens. It's a power vac filler. It's a double reservoir as well. It's got the hook safe lock. It's got the older 23 cat Palladium nibs. This is a fine nib. This is the pen that started me down, I want to say 70 plus Viscontis. Oh, it's around about 70, I think, that I have in my collection now. I got this with a fine nib. I really wanted a medium nib. I thought I'll try a fine nib, and it wrote spectacularly well. And then I bought the Florentine Hills literally the next day, which was a medium nib, and I liked how that wrote as well. This is a really lovely, really nicely tuned nib. I don't know if anybody had tuned that. I got that from Pure Pens, Ross at Pure Pens, and that's when they were selling a lot more of the higher end Viscontis in the early days. And I don't know if it was tuned by anybody or if that was how it came out of the factory, but the nib writes perfectly. So I have that one inked up with me this week as well, and I've been writing with already. So that's my current ink pens for this week. I think now let's go and do a writing sample. So the first pen inked up this week is the Visconti Millionaire in the green or forest. So I think let's do an ink swatch. Now, I don't know if you recall, but I mentioned that there was some staining on my Visconti Brunelleschi, which had a very dark Bordeaux colour. But this was the ink that I put in it, and that's why it was stained around the rim of the section a little bit. So this is a Visconti, and it's a Millionaire, and it's in, I believe it's called the Forest Green. It's a medium, and it's a 23 cat Palladium nib, and then the ink in here is Rora. And it's Klinger, and it's Alt or Old Bordeaux, which really is a dark colour. And the reason why I just tried that ink, it was an ink that I'd had for a while, and I put it in my Brunelleschi, and I absolutely loved how it wrote, and I used it ever since. But you'll see again, it does have a little bit staining around the section, perhaps. The next pen is another Visconti, and again a Millionaire, but this is in the Empire Honey. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now, I do find that this nib writes a little bit more narrower, but it's also this ink that I typically write with like an apricot coloured ink, and I do find that that tends to be a little bit more on the dry side as well. So this is a Visconti, and it's the Millionaire, and it's the Empire Honey. Typically, lighter inks do tend to be drier writers. It's a medium, and it's a 23 cat Palladium nib, and then the ink in here is Ackerman Dutch Masters, and it's jelly. I'm just going to get this spelt right. Ochre Van Farn. But that is a lovely apricot coloured ink if you like light inks, but you don't necessarily want to go for a yellow ink. The next pen is the Visconti Brunelleschi, and I did say about the slight staining around the section with Alt Bordeaux there. So I think we'll do an ink swatch, and this one I've switched now to using a red ink, and uh, I think the reason why I think I had inked this up with a red ink before, and I found it a dry writer. And honestly, this one is writing a little bit dry with a red ink. So this is the Visconti, and it's the Brunelleschi. Brunelleschi, and it is a medium 23 cat Palladium nib, and then the ink in here is Pilot Eroshizuku, and it's Momiji, which is a lovely red ink, which can have a bit of gold sheen to it as well. The next pen inked up is the Visconti Medici. So I think let's do an ink swatch. Now this is a double broad nib, and this isn't the original nib I had on this pen, but this writes really broad. So it is a Visconti Medici, and it is a double broad, and it is a 23 cat Palladium nib, and then the ink in here is Akamon SBRE brown, but you can just see that that is a really, really broad or double broad writing nib. The next pen inked up this week is the Visconti Chatterley Luxuries Southwest. So I think we'll do an ink swatch here. Now this, I love the pen, I love the celluloid material, and I love how this nib writes. It's a perfect writing nib. It's got a little bit of bounce to it. It writes flawlessly for me. So this is the Visconti Chatterley Luxuries, and it's the Southwest. It is a medium, and it's the newer 18 cat gold nibs. And then the ink in here is Mont Blanc. I had to think about that one because I wasn't too sure. Yeah, it's Mont Blanc, and it's Corn Poppy Red. But that is a beautiful ink, and I still have too many bottles of it. The next pen inked up this week is the Visconti Marzi. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And this is a bit of an interesting ink. This is more of a brown ink. It's a Visconti, and it is the Bronze Age, and it's the Marzi. And the nib in here is a 1.3mm stub nib, and it's a 23 cat Palladium nib. And the ink in here is an ink that I mixed together, which is a little bit of the Akamon SBRE brown, and also Diamine Wild Strawberry. So wild strawberry. So it's a bit of a hybrid ink, but it's an interesting one. So it tends to go a little bit between like a brownish to a reddish, back to a brown. So it's an interesting combination there. The next pen inked up is the Visconti, and this is the Istos Arachnis. So we'll do an ink swatch here. Now this is a medium nib. I do find though it writes a little bit more like a fine nib. So having a more viscous ink in here sometimes tends to work better. So this is the Visconti, and it's the Istos Arachnis. I think it's spelt that way. It's been a long time since I've actually spelt this. and it is a medium, and it's a 23 cat Palladium nib. And then the ink in here is Pelican, Edelstein, and it's Sapphire, which is a lovely blue ink. The next pen is the Visconti Belgica. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And this is a broad nib. And this is a newer ink that was gifted to me by a friend, Derek, at Stonecop Fine Writing Supplies. So this is the Visconti Belgica. And he knows that I like the cerulean blue coloured inks. So this is a broad, and it's an 18 karat gold nib. It's one of the earlier 18 karat gold nibs from Visconti. And this is this ink is Venvistus, and I'm going to have to try and spell this because it is aqua, but not in the conventional sense. So it's aqua. It's in Italian, di Spargi. That should be a P. There you go. Venustus aqua di Spargi. And that is a beautiful cerulean blue ink. I'd say very similar to Pelican Edelstein Topaz. The next pen I have inked up is the Visconti Homo Sapiens Blue Lagoon. So we'll do an ink swatch. And although that this is a medium nib, it writes still quite dry, even though I have flossed the tines. It does actually write a little bit more like a fine nib, I would say. So this is a Visconti, and it's a Homo Sapiens, and it's the Blue Lagoon. And it is a medium, and it's the newer 18 karat gold nib. And then the ink in here is a Diamine Aqua Lagoon. But it does write a little bit more on the drier side, and I may even just floss those tines a little bit more and actually open it up to be a much, much wetter writing nib. And then the last pen I have inked up this week is the Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog. So we'll do an ink swatch here. Now, this is actually a fine nib, and you can kind of see that here, but it's a wetter fine nib. So you can see why the Homo Sapiens Blue Lagoon, I said, although it's a medium nib, it writes like a fine nib, because it really does. So this is a Visconti, you can just see there the difference. Visconti Homo Sapiens, and it's the London Fog. And this is a fine, and it's a 23 cat Palladium nib. And then the ink in here is Pilot Iwashizuku, and it's Konpeki. So I think let's take a look at these pens inked up one more time. So we have a Visconti Millionaire in the forest green, inked up, it's a medium 23 cat Palladium nib, inked up with Rohr and Klinger Alt Bordeaux. We have a Visconti Millionaire in the Empire Honey, and this is a medium 23 cat Palladium nib, inked up with Ackermann Dutch Masters Jelly Ochre van Fran. We have a Visconti Brunelleschi in a medium 23 cat Palladium nib, inked up with Pilot Iroshizuku Momiji. We have a Visconti Medici in a double broad 23 cat Palladium nib, inked up with Ackermann SBRE Brown. We have a Visconti Chatterley Luxuries Southwest in a medium 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Mont Blanc Corn Poppy Red. And we have a little bit of a hybrid colour here. So this is a Visconti Bronze Age Marzi in a 1.3mm 23 karat Palladium stub nib. And it's inked up with a combination of, it's a mixing of Ackermann SBRE Brown and Diamine Wild Strawberry. I'd have to say, I didn't mix this ink. Unfortunately, I didn't clean the pen out properly, and I have a mix of ink there. The next pen I have inked up is the Visconti Istos Arachnis, and this is in a medium 23 carat Palladium nib, inked up with Pelican Edelstein Sapphire. We have a Visconti Belgica in a broad 18 carat gold nib, inked up with Venustus Aqua di Spargi. We have a Visconti Homo Sapiens Blue Lagoon in a medium 18 carat gold nib, inked up with Diamine Aqua Lagoon. And then last but not least, we have a Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog in a fine 23 carat Palladium nib, inked up with Pilot Owashizuku Konpeki. So there you have it. That's my currently inked pens for this week. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.